I want to share with you 3 different things that I think every filmmaker needs to know about. I had to learn these the hard way because nobody teaches these things. There's no videos on YouTube about these things. I went to film school and they did not talk about any of these things. So hopefully, if you give me about 10 minutes, I'm going to save you a lot of headache down the road. And usually I do 3 types of videos. I do gear tutorial and reviews because I own a lot of gear and I want to show you how to use it and do cinematic lighting and things like that. I do post-production tutorials, things like Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere. And most importantly, I show you the business side of filmmaking, how to make money as a filmmaker, these type of things that nobody else covers, like what I'm gonna cover in this video. So make sure you subscribe because I wanna teach you things that are just not out there to make you more successful. And most importantly, make your career as a filmmaker or as a freelancer a lot more sustainable and a lot more stress-free. So let's jump into the 3 here and I'll give you some resources as I talk about each one. But the first one is all about insurance. And I'm not talking about health insurance. I'm talking about your insurance for your career. Now, most people skip this entirely. And if ever they get to insurance, they think of insurance to rent gear, for example. A lot of people figure out, hey, how can I get insurance so I could rent a camera or a grip truck and things like that for doing different video projects. But there's a lot more to insurance. So let me tell you what I have as a video production company. But even if you're a one-man band, these are insurance that you should look at. So just to give you an example, in Chicago, where I do production, to get into any building, these are the set of different insurance policy that I need. Now I have them all with one company, but I can't even get into buildings to do video shoots, or hospitals, or really anywhere I shoot requires these things. The first one is called general liability insurance. And typically you need a $2 million policy. Now I have a $2 million and $4 million policy for this. So this lets you get into buildings, but if anything goes wrong in a production, you're covered with general liability insurance. And they send you something called a certificate of insurance. So you would get an agent, you would Google this, find a company that offers this in your area. Then there's this other insurance called workers' comp. Now, even if you are a one-person production company, still to get into some buildings, you need workers' comp. So in my case, I have workers' comp, but if you have employees, you definitely have to have workers' comp. So this is a very expensive insurance. It's even more than the general liability insurance, but this is something you should look at. And then there is the optional one called error of omission insurance. And this one basically covers you from any error. Like, let's say something went wrong with your camera and everything in the car just disappeared, or you made an error on the job and it caused an issue with your deliverables. This can cover you in those cases. Now, with all these, I did consult with an insurance expert and they kind of set this up for me, but nobody taught me this, right? I had to basically make a bunch of calls, do a bunch of research and figure this out. And you know when this came about? The first time, like a decade ago, when I had to get into a building or rent a location for a film shoot, and they asked for all these things. And I looked completely green. I had no idea what they were talking about. So hopefully, if you're hearing this for the first time, you could do your research now and learn about those insurance policy, or call an agent. Usually they help you for free, and then you'll have to go ahead, obviously pay for those policies. And with any of these topics I'm going to cover, if you want to learn more about each one, please let me know in the comment section. I am putting a whole course together as well to show you the business side of filmmaking as well. Basically how I went from a $50,000 a year freelancer to making $250,000 in profit. I want to show you that step by step, and I've never looked back ever since I figured that out. So I am putting the course dedicated to that. So if you want to learn more about that, check out the links below. The second thing I want to talk about is related to business structure. And I'm just going to give you an overview because this is something you should consult a lawyer with. But if you do spend a couple $100, or some lawyers do free consulting, this is well worth your time. So I've hired a lawyer to set this up for me, and I hire an accountant, especially a CPA, to set this up. And the two of them help me set up my business structure. So how does business structure work and why do you need to know about it? Well, most filmmakers work as freelancers. Maybe they're just a one-man operation. And that's fine. Anytime when I started out, I was obviously a one-man company, and I still followed the business structure because it ends up saving you a lot in taxes. And on the legal side, again, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not giving you legal advice here, but I'm just telling you to consult a lawyer, and this is what they told me. But basically, you are a bit more protected against things when you get sued. So it's under the corporate structure basically, so they would sue the company and not you and take your personal belongings like your house or your car. Okay, so there's two benefits: tax related benefit and then the legal protection benefit when you structure correctly as a business, right? So what kind of business should you be? Again, this is something you should talk to a lawyer about, but I have a business that's a S Corp, it's a S corporation, and I have another company that's a LLC. And it kind of depends on what you're doing and which one makes more sense for you. S Corp makes more sense from what I hear from the lawyer, that if you're a single person making over $80,000 a year, you should transfer to S Corp. It'll save you on taxes and give you legal protection. LLC seem to be a little better if you're in a partnership or if you have more than one person that has ownership. Again, this is what I've just heard from the lawyer, but make sure you understand business structure, study it, and look at talking or consulting with a lawyer and a CPA to set this up, because I promise you in the long run, the couple $100 you'll spend on a consulting call could save you tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in your career if you set this up correctly. And the third thing is, if you are freelancing or if you have a video production company where it's your company, you need to understand retirements, because the retirement plans that you would have with a job like a 401k plan doesn't exist if you're your own boss and you're setting up your own company. So again, this I learned the hard way and I left a lot of money on the table. But the way I got started with retirement plans was I started with this thing called the IRA. At the time that I'm recording this, every year you could put up $6,000 into an IRA. That's the maximum amount for a regular IRA plan that you could set up. Now you could literally walk to a bank. I think I have mine with Vanguard, which is just a website, vanguard.com. It's been around for a long time. But again, these type of things I'm telling you so you could do your own research. So there's plenty of finance channels on YouTube too that talk more in depth about these type of things. But for example, after I had an IRA, when my income grew, I wanted to save more. So there are other things, again, depending on your business structure and how you set this up. One is called solo 401k. This is not a regular 401k you get through a job. Solo 401k is designed for entrepreneurs and business owners, especially if they don't have any employees. And then there's the other thing called SEP, S-E-P. And that retirement plan, you could put substantially more than the $6,000 limit that an IRA plan has. Now, this is obviously for down the road as you grow your business, but I definitely try to contribute as much as I can to those bigger plans over the traditional IRA. Now, there's Roth IRA and all kinds of different things that you should learn about. But if you take the time, if you take a few hours and learn about retirement plans, it's really gonna save you, it's gonna help you with taxes, and it's obviously gonna save up for retirement, which is something no one's ever gonna tell you. I promise you, this is something that you just won't learn in traditional filmmaking tutorials and in film school. So just to recap, business insurance is something you should really look into, right? The structure for your company. If you're just solo and you think everything is set up correctly and you never set up a business identity for yourself, it's something you should definitely consult a lawyer about. And retirement is something you should really look at and set it up as early as possible. If you understand how compound interest works, the earlier you set this up, the faster you could get to a point where you really don't need money and you could just work on your passion projects. So let me know if these type of videos are useful. I do want to make more videos talking about the boring side of filmmaking that no one else seems to be covering on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching this one. Make sure you check out all the resources below, and I'll see you next time.